My wife betrayed me by having an affair with my younger brother, who was considered my darling, and my family lied in court to ruin me. So I reopened the case, cut off her alimony, and left them to beg. I spent most of my childhood learning a simple lesson. I didn't matter. Not in the tragic, abusive sense that would send you to therapy and elicit pity. Just the quiet, grinding reality of being second place in a two-child family. Dominic was 3 years younger and everything I wasn't. Outgoing, charming, the kind of kid who could talk his way out of anything. When he crashed Dad's car at 16. Boys will be boys when I forgot to take out the trash. A lecture about responsibility that lasted an hour. I learned early to stop expecting fairness. Instead, I worked, got myself through state college on scholarships while Dominic partied through his freshman year on mom and dad's dime before dropping out. I studied surveying and land development, put in 80-hour weeks, and built something real. By 32, I was a licensed land surveyor running projects for a mid-sized firm in Phoenix. Not glamorous, but stable. Meeting Celine felt like proof I'd finally escaped that dynamic. We met at a friend's wedding 3 years ago. She was a kindergarten teacher, patient and warm in a way that made me feel like I could actually exhale. We dated for 8 months before I proposed. The wedding was small. My parents showed up late and left early. Dominic was too busy to come. I told myself I didn't care. For the first year, I really believed I'd built something separate from all that family toxicity. Celine and I had our own rhythm. She'd grade papers at the kitchen table while I reviewed site plans. Weekends hiking, quiet dinners, planning the future. Simple, good. Then she told me she was pregnant. I remember exactly where I was standing in our kitchen holding a site map when she walked in with the test. The look on her face. I dropped everything and just held her. We stood there for what felt like forever. Both of us crying and laughing. I'd never felt that kind of pure joy before. That's when Dominic started showing up. At first, it seemed normal. He'd swing by to congratulate us, bring takeout, help set up the nursery, but it kept happening 2-3 times a week. Often when I was still at work, Celine would mention it casually. "Oh, Dominic stopped by today," and I'd push down the weird feeling in my gut. The touches started small, a hand on her shoulder, adding her stomach when talking about the baby. "My nephew's in there," he'd say, grinning, but his hand would linger. And Celine would get this look, not uncomfortable exactly, just something I couldn't read. They developed inside jokes I wasn't part of. I'd walk into a room and they'd go quiet, then laugh about something I apparently had to be there for. Celine's phone went face down on every surface. She changed her passcode without mentioning it. When I asked about her day, she'd give me the highlight reel. Nothing specific, nothing real. I kept telling myself I was being paranoid, jealous. This was my brother and my wife. They were just becoming friends. That's healthy, right? Extended family bonding over the pregnancy, but I couldn't shake it. One Thursday, I left work early. Client canceled a site visit and came home around 2. Found them on the couch. Dominic's arm stretched across the back. Celine leaning into him. They weren't doing anything explicit. Just close. Too close. They jumped apart when I walked in. "Hey man, didn't know you'd be home," Dominic said, all casual. Celine wouldn't look at me. I started watching more carefully after that. The way she angled her phone away from me, how she'd step into the bedroom to answer calls. The nights she'd stay up after I went to bed, typing on her phone with the screen brightness turned all the way down. 6 weeks before her due date, I couldn't sleep. Lay there at 2 in the morning, staring at the ceiling while Celine breathed softly beside me. Her phone was on the nightstand, face down like always. It vibrated. The screen lit up, casting a glow across the dark room. I could see the preview notification from where I lay. "Dominic, can't wait to see you tomorrow when he's gone." Smirking face emoji. I stared at those words. Read them 3 times. 4. My hand was already reaching for the phone before I'd consciously decided to move. I knew her passcode. She'd never changed it from the one she showed me when we first started dating. Her childhood dog's name and birth year. My hands were steady as I unlocked the screen. The message thread with Dominic was right there. I scrolled up. Months of conversations going back to before she was even pregnant. "Celine, he's at that site inspection until 6. Come over at 2. Dominic already on my way." Devilish face emoji. "Celine, we need to be more careful. He's been asking questions." "Dominic, he won't figure it out. He never does." I kept scrolling, found the message that made my stomach drop. "Dominic, what if it's actually mine?" "Celine? Even better. Let him play daddy for a few months, then I'll file. Child support alone will cover rent plus alimony since he makes good money. We'll be set." "Dominic, you're brilliant. He has no idea." "Celine, he trusts me completely. It's actually kind of sad." I took screenshots, forwarded them to my personal email, kept scrolling, documenting everything. The jokes at my expense, the times they'd laughed about how oblivious I was, plans for their future together, funded by my paychecks. My wife stirred beside me, rolled over. I set the phone back exactly where it was. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. Just lay there staring at the ceiling, running through scenarios. Part of me wanted to shake her awake, scream, demand answers. But a colder part, the part that had learned early not to expect anything from family, was already calculating. Morning came. I got up, made coffee, started breakfast like always. Eggs, toast, the turkey bacon she'd been craving. Celine shuffled into the kitchen around 7, yawning, one hand on her stomach. "Morning," she said, kissing my cheek. I set her plate down, poured her orange juice, sat across from her at the table. Then I pulled out my phone and opened the screenshots. "Want to explain this?" The color drained from her face so fast I thought she might faint. She reached for the phone, but I pulled it back. "How did you? I can explain." "I'm sure you can." My voice sounded strange. Flat. "Go ahead." She tried lying first. Said the messages were taken out of context. That Dominic was joking, that I was misunderstanding, but I just kept showing her more screenshots, watching her scramble for new excuses. Finally, she broke. "It just happened," she whispered. "We didn't plan it. We fell in love." "Before or after you got pregnant?" She looked down. "Before. Is it mine?" "I don't know." Her voice was barely audible. "It could be, but probably not." Silence. "Get out," I said. "Please, we can work through. Pack a bag. Get out of my house." She started crying then, but I was already walking away. Went to the bedroom, started gathering her things myself. She followed, begging, explaining, trying to touch my arm. I just kept packing. She called Dominic. I heard her on the phone in the living room. "He knows. He found the messages. You need to come get me." 20 minutes later, my brother was at my door. Had the audacity to look defensive. "Look, man, it wasn't supposed to go down like this. Save it. Take her and leave. You're really going to throw away family over?" I got in his face. "You already did that. Now get out." They left together. I watched from the window as Dominic loaded her bags into his car, his arm around her shoulders. Protective like he was the good guy here. I called a divorce attorney that afternoon. Filed papers by the end of the week. That's when my parents got involved. Dominic spun them some story about how I'd been controlling, how Celine had turned to him for emotional support, how I was tearing the family apart instead of working things out. Mom called me crying. Dad called me selfish. Neither bothered to ask my side. "He made a mistake, but he's your brother." Mom said, "This baby is family. You're going to punish a child because you're angry? The child isn't mine. You don't know that. And even if we support them, that's what family does." 2 weeks before the court date, my attorney pulled me aside after a meeting. "Your parents are planning to testify," she said. "For Celine's side, what they're claiming you were emotionally abusive, isolated her, made her feel unsafe." She looked uncomfortable. "It's their sworn testimony. And judges, they take family testimony seriously." The hearing was brutal. I sat there while my own mother took the stand, swore an oath, and described me as controlling and volatile. Made up stories about me monitoring Celine's phone, restricting her social life. None of it true, but she sold it convincingly. Dad backed her up. The affair evidence? Celine's lawyer argued it was the result of her seeking comfort from an abusive situation, that she'd been emotionally desperate. The judge listened to everything, took notes, called a recess. When we returned, she looked at me with something like pity. "Based on the testimony provided, particularly from the plaintiff's own family, I'm ruling in favor of the defendant. Alimony will be set at." I stopped hearing the numbers, just watched Celine's face, the relief, the triumph poorly hidden behind fake tears. Dominic squeezed her hand from the gallery. My parents didn't even look at me as they left. 6 weeks later, the baby was born. I found out through a mutual friend who sent me a photo from Celine's social media. Dominic holding the infant. Celine gazing up at him. The caption, "Our little family." Red heart emoji. The kid had Dominic's eyes, his nose. No question whose son he was. And every month, like clockwork, I wrote a check to the woman who destroyed me so she could play house with my brother. I changed my number, moved across town, blocked every family member on every platform. If they wanted to choose Dominic, fine, and they could have him. I buried myself in work. Got promoted to senior surveyor within a year. Started taking on bigger projects leading teams. Stopped going to therapy after 6 months because talking about it just made me angrier. 2 years passed. I bought a house in Scottsdale. Started dating again. Nothing serious. Just proof to myself I could still function. My life looked good on paper. Stable. Successful. I didn't think about them much anymore. Tried not to. Anyway, then one Tuesday afternoon, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Finally picked up on the 5th ring. "Hello, it's Mom." I should have hung up immediately. Instead, I waited. Her voice was different. Shaky, scared. "We need to talk. It's about Dominic and money. Please just hear me out." We're not having this conversation. I said, please just listen. I hung up. The phone rang again immediately. I declined the call, then blocked the number. Over the next week, they found other ways. Text from Dad's phone. Your brother lost his job 6 months ago. They're about to lose the house. Be the bigger man. Email from Dominic. I know we're not on good terms, but I'm asking for help for the kids. We need food money. Kids, plural. Apparently, Celine was pregnant again. Voicemail from an aunt I hadn't spoken to in 5 years. Your parents are worried sick. Dominic made mistakes, but he's family. We heard about your promotion. You're doing so well. Can't you spare something? That one made me laugh. They'd heard about my promotion. Of course, they had. 3 months earlier, I'd been appointed regional survey manager for our firm, Southwest Division. Significant raise, team of 12 under me, company truck. The kind of position I'd worked a decade to reach. And somehow within weeks, my entire arranged family knew about it. More messages came. Different numbers. Same script. Dominic was desperate. The bills were piling up. They had a toddler and another baby coming. Couldn't I help family in need? The thing is, part of me wanted to. That's the worst part. Years of conditioning don't just evaporate. I'd spent my whole childhood trying to earn their approval, their attention, their basic acknowledgement. Some pathetic piece of me still wondered if helping now would finally make them see me differently. Then I checked my bank account. $43,000 in alimony payments over 2 years. Money that had gone directly to funding Dominic and Celine's life together. Money they'd laughed about in those text messages. Their plan, their scam, executed perfectly. And now they wanted more. I sat in my home office that Friday night scrolling through the messages. Read them over and over. The entitlement in every word. Not one of them had apologized. Not once. Just demands wrapped in guilt about family obligations. My cursor hovered over the reply button. I typed out a response. How much do you need? Stared at it for 5 minutes. Then deleted it and opened a different browser tab. Searched for my divorce attorney's contact information. Patricia Reeves answered on the second ring. Well, this is a surprise. How have you been? I need to know if it's possible to reopen a divorce case. Pause. That's complicated. What's the situation? I explained everything. The messages I still had. The affair evidence that never got properly heard in court. My parents' testimony that painted me as abusive. The fact that I'd been paying alimony to a woman who deliberately defrauded me. And you still have the original screenshots. Every single one backed up in 3 places. Interesting. I could hear her typing. The challenge is that fraud has to be proven and the original judge already ruled. But if we can demonstrate that perjured testimony materially affected the outcome, my parents lied under oath. They claimed I was controlling and abusive. None of it was true. Can you prove that? I thought about our old friend group. The people who'd known me and Celine as a couple. The ones who'd watched everything fall apart and stayed quiet because they didn't want to take sides. Yeah, I said slowly. I think I can. Then we might have something. Let me review the original case file. Call me Monday. I spent the weekend reaching out to old contacts. Started with Troy, who'd been my college roommate and had been at my wedding. Honestly, he said when I explained what I needed, I felt like crap about this for years. We all knew something was going on with Celine and Dominic. Nobody wanted to say anything because I don't know. We thought maybe we were wrong, but after the divorce when they just moved in together immediately. Yeah, we knew. Would you be willing to testify to that? Absolutely. Laura, too. His wife. We both will. 3 more friends agreed. People who'd known me for years who could counter my parents' claims about my character. Who'd witnessed Dominic and Celine's behavior before the pregnancy was even announced. One friend, Camila, told me something I hadn't known. Your mom called my mom before the trial, she said. Asked her if she'd be willing to make a statement about you being difficult or intense. My mom refused. She was really uncomfortable about it. Why didn't you tell me? I didn't know until after everything was done. Mom mentioned it months later. I'm sorry. I should have. Don't. It's not your fault. But it was useful information. Evidence that my parents hadn't just testified to what they believed. They'd actively tried to recruit others to lie. Monday morning, Patricia called me back. I reviewed everything. The original evidence, the case law, your potential witnesses. She paused. This is viable. We can file a motion to reopen based on fraud and perjury testimony. If we can prove your parents lied under oath and that the affair evidence was improperly dismissed, we have a real shot at getting that alimony reversed. What are the chances? Honestly, 60-40 in our favor. Maybe better. The screenshots alone are damning. And if your witnesses are credible, another pause, but I need to be clear. Once we file this, there's no going back. Your entire family will know you're coming for them. It'll get ugly. I looked at my phone. 7 unread messages from various family members, all asking for money. None acknowledging what they'd done to me. How long until we can file? I can have the motion ready by Friday, But are you absolutely certain you want to proceed? I thought about the alimony checks, about my parents on that witness stand, swearing I was dangerous, about Dominic's smirk as they left the courtroom together, about 2 years of silence and rebuilding and learning to trust myself again. File it, I said. That Friday afternoon, I was in a meeting when Patricia texted me. Motion filed. Service of process happening now. They'll all be notified within the hour. I turned my phone off and finished the meeting. When I turned it back on 2 hours later, I had 19 missed calls and 37 text messages. The first voicemail was, "Mom," her voice shrill. "What have you done? We just got served with court papers. You're really doing this?" After everything, I deleted it without listening to the rest. The messages were variations on the same theme. Shock. Anger. Disbelief. How could I do this to family? What kind of person drags his own parents to court? Dominic's message was the longest. "You're really going to destroy us over something that happened years ago. We're barely surviving and you're trying to take away the only income we have. There are children involved. My son, your nephew, what kind of uncle does this?" I read it twice, then typed back the only response any of them would get from me. "See you in court." 3 weeks later, I stood in the courthouse lobby in a suit I bought specifically for this occasion. Patricia was beside me, briefcase in hand, reviewing notes. Across the lobby, I saw them. All of them. Celine looked exhausted, thinner than I remembered, dark circles under her eyes. Dominic stood next to her, his arm around her waist, trying to look confident, but failing. My parents sat on a bench nearby, both of them looking older, smaller. Mom saw me first, started to stand like she might come over. I looked away. "They're here," Patricia murmured. "Ready?" "Yeah." The bailiff called us in. We filed into the courtroom. My side, their side. The judge entered and I felt my stomach tighten. Same judge from the original case. Judge Morrison. She'd been the one who'd believed my parents, who'd awarded Celine everything. Patricia had said this could work in our favor. Judges don't like being fooled, but it could also go the other way. Nobody wants to admit they got it wrong. Judge Morrison settled into her seat, opened the case file, and looked out at the courtroom. Her eyes landed on me first, then moved to Celine and Dominic. "Let's begin," she said. "I've reviewed the motion to reopen. This is an unusual case. Mr. Reeves, your attorney is alleging fraud, perjury, and material misrepresentation that affected the outcome of your divorce proceedings. That's a serious claim." "Yes, Your Honor," Patricia said, standing, "and we have substantial evidence to support it." "Then let's see it," Patricia began. Started with the timeline, the affair, the pregnancy, the messages I discovered. Projected the screenshots on a screen for the whole courtroom to see. I watched Celine's face as her own words appeared. Watched Dominic shift uncomfortably. Watched my parents stare straight ahead, refusing to look. Patricia called her first witness. Troy took the stand, sworn in. "How long have you known the plaintiff?" 14 years. "We were college roommates. During his marriage to the defendant, did you observe any behavior that would be consistent with the abuse allegations made in the original proceedings?" "No. None. That's not who he is." "Did you have any knowledge of an affair between the defendant and the plaintiff's brother?" Troy looked directly at Celine. "Yeah, we all knew something was going on. The way they acted around each other, the amount of time they spent together. After the divorce, when they immediately moved in together, it confirmed what we'd already suspected." One by one, my witnesses testified. Camila talked about my mother's attempt to recruit false testimony. Laura described seeing Dominic and Celine together at a restaurant 6 months before the pregnancy, acting like a couple. Another friend from work testified about my character. Steady, professional, never volatile. Then Patricia called the bombshell. "Your Honor, I'd like to enter into evidence a sworn affidavit from one of the original witnesses in the divorce proceedings." She handed documents to the bailiff. Mrs. Cordelia Hayes testified in the original case that she'd witnessed concerning behavior from the plaintiff toward the defendant. However, Mrs. Hayes has since come forward to state that she was asked by the plaintiff's mother to provide this testimony and was told what to say. The courtroom went silent. Judge Morrison looked at my mother. "Is this true?" Mom's attorney stood quickly. "Your Honor, my clients deny these allegations," and I asked Mrs. Peterson a direct question. My mother's face was red. We were trying to protect our family to help our son by committing perjury. We didn't think it was. Perjury is a crime. Mrs. Peterson. You swore an oath. Celine's attorney scrambled to respond, trying to argue that even if there was an affair, it didn't negate the original settlement. That emotions were complicated, that people make mistakes, but the screenshots were there, the premeditated plan laid out in explicit detail, the jokes at my expense, the calculated timeline. Patricia systematically dismantled every defense, showed how the affair evidence had been dismissed based on false testimony about my character, how the entire case had been built on lies. Dominic got called to the stand. He tried to defend himself, said he'd fallen in love. That it wasn't planned, that they tried to do the right thing. "Did you have an affair with your brother's wife while she was pregnant?" Patricia asked. It wasn't like that. Yes or no? Yes. Did you discuss a plan to let your brother believe the child was his, then divorce him for financial support? We were just talking. We didn't. I'm showing you Exhibit G. These are your text messages. Did you write these words? Let him play daddy for a few months, then we'll be set. Dominic stared at the screen. I was joking. Were you? Silence. My parents refused to take the stand. Their attorney advised against it, which made them look even more guilty. Finally, Judge Morrison called a recess, said she'd review all the evidence and render her decision after lunch. We sat in the hallway outside the courtroom. I didn't eat, just drank water and stared at the wall. Dominic approached during the break. He looked wrecked. You've won. Okay. His voice was harsh. You've destroyed us. Happy now? I stood up, looked him in the eye. I didn't destroy anything. You did that yourself. We're going to lose everything because of you. Because of me? I'm not the one who. The court is ready. The bailiff called from the doorway. Back in the courtroom, Dominic turned away. I watched him walk back to Celine, whisper something to her. She was crying again. I felt nothing. We filed back in. Judge Morrison sat down, a thick folder in front of her. She looked directly at me, then at Celine and Dominic, then at my parents. She opened the folder. I've reviewed all evidence presented today, she said slowly. This is without exaggeration, unlike anything I've encountered in 23 years on the bench. Judge Morrison adjusted her reading glasses. The evidence presented today demonstrates a clear pattern of fraud and perjury that directly influenced the outcome of the original proceedings. She looked at the documents in front of her. Then back up at the courtroom, the text messages between the defendant and Mr. Dominic Peterson show a premeditated scheme to deceive the plaintiff regarding paternity and to extract financial support through fraudulent means. These are not the confused messages of someone in an affair. These are calculated plans to commit fraud. Celine's lawyer started to stand. The judge held up a hand. I'm not finished. The testimony from the plaintiff's parents in the original case described a pattern of controlling and abusive behavior. Today's witnesses, all credible, all with years of relationship with the plaintiff, have testified to the opposite. More significantly, we have a sworn affidavit from Mrs. Hayes admitting she was coached to provide false testimony by Mrs. Peterson. My mother made a small sound. Dad put his hand on her shoulder. This court takes perjury extremely seriously. Mrs. and Mr. Peterson, you swore an oath before this court and deliberately provided false testimony to influence a legal proceeding. That is a crime. Your Honor, if I may, Dad's attorney tried. You may not. Judge Morrison's voice was steel. I'm issuing my ruling. The courtroom went dead silent. Based on the evidence of fraud in the inducement of marriage, the premeditated deception regarding paternity, and the perjured testimony that materially affected the original verdict, I am hereby vacating the original divorce settlement in its entirety. I heard Celine gasp. The alimony award is terminated immediately, effective today. Furthermore, the defendant is ordered to repay 60% of all alimony received over the past 2 years. Given the defendant's current financial situation, a payment plan will be established, but the debt must be satisfied. Patricia squeezed my arm. I kept my face neutral. Mr. Dominic Peterson, while not a party to the original proceedings, participated knowingly in the fraudulent scheme. He is jointly liable for the repayment amount. Dominic's face went white. As for Mr. and Mrs. Peterson, I am referring this matter to the district attorney's office for potential perjury charges. While I cannot compel prosecution, I am recommending it in the strongest possible terms. Mom started crying. Not quiet tears, loud gasping sobs. The plaintiff is awarded attorney's fees and court costs. This matter is concluded. Judge Morrison brought down her gavel. We're adjourned. For a moment, nobody moved. Then Celine stood up, stumbling, her lawyer catching her arm. Dominic was already heading for the exit. My parents sat frozen on their bench. I stood slowly, straightened my jacket. Patricia was grinning, gathering papers. That was about as decisive as it gets, she said quietly. Congratulations. I nodded. Couldn't quite process it yet. Across the aisle, Celine was trying to talk to her lawyer, her voice rising. How much? We can't possibly. There's no way we can pay that back. Her lawyer was shaking his head, explaining something I couldn't hear. My mother approached. Dad tried to stop her, but she shrugged him off. Are you happy now? Her face was blotchy. Mascara streaked. You've destroyed your whole family. I looked at her, really looked at her. This woman who'd given birth to me, raised me, then stood in a courtroom and lied about me under oath to protect her favorite son. I didn't destroy anything, I said quietly. You all did that yourselves. I just stopped paying for it. We're going to lose our house. Do you understand that? The legal fees, the fines. We're 67 years old and we're going to lose everything because you couldn't forgive. You committed perjury, Mom. You lied under oath. Those are your choices and your consequences. He's your brother and you're my mother, but you chose him anyway. You always did. She stared at me like she didn't recognize me. Maybe she didn't. Maybe she'd never actually seen me clearly to begin with. Let's go. Dad was there pulling her away. He didn't look at me, just guided her toward the exit. I watched them leave, watched Dominic's back disappear through the doors, watched Celine hunched over, still arguing with her lawyer. Patricia touched my elbow. There's paperwork to sign, and the DA might want to speak with you about the perjury referral. Okay. We spent 2 hours in conference rooms handling logistics. The alimony termination was immediate. No more payments. The repayment plan would take years given that neither Celine nor Dominic had significant income, but it was something. And more importantly, it was over. I drove home in silence, pulled into my driveway, sat in the car for a while. My phone buzzed. Text from Troy. Heard you won. Proud of you, man. Let me know if you want to grab a beer. Another from Camila. Just as served. Hope you're doing okay. I responded to both with, thanks. Put the phone down. It felt strange. I'd spent 2 years angry, then several months planning this, then weeks in preparation, and now it was just done. Over the next week, I learned the details through various sources. Dominic and Celine's foreclosure proceeded. They moved into a 2-bedroom apartment in a rough part of town. Celine got a job at a grocery store. Dominic was working delivery for a food app, trying to piece together enough hours. My parents listed their house. Had to given the legal fees and the fines associated with the perjury referral. The DA decided not to pursue jail time given their age, but the fines were substantial. They were moving into a small rental, selling most of their furniture. Extended family reached out. Some to condemn me. How could I do this to my own parents, to my brother, to those innocent children? Others to quietly admit they'd always known something was off about the whole situation. I blocked most of them, kept a few who seemed genuine, but mostly I just wanted distance. 10 days after the verdict, my phone rang. Unknown number. I'd started answering them again now that the court case was done. Hello, it's Mom. I should have hung up, but something in her voice stopped me. I wanted you to know that I'm sorry for what I did for lying, for choosing. Her voice broke. I don't expect you to forgive me. I know what I did was wrong, but I needed to say it. I was silent for a long time. You destroyed me in that courtroom. I finally said you stood up there and told a judge I was dangerous, abusive. You knew it wasn't true and you said it anyway. I know. You did it to protect Dominic like you always did. My whole life. Every choice came down to protecting him from consequences. I know, she whispered. And now you're sorry because you're facing consequences yourself. That's not. She stopped. Maybe you're right. Maybe I wouldn't have called if things were different. I don't know anymore. I'm your mother. I should have protected you, too, and I didn't. I'm sorry. It was the first time she'd ever admitted it. The favoritism, the pattern, but it was also 34 years too late. I appreciate you calling, I said. But I can't have you in my life. Any of you. What you did, what you all did. That's not something I can just move past. I understand. I hope things work out for you, Mom. I really do, but from a distance. Okay. She was crying. I love you. I know I didn't show it right, but I do love you. Goodbye, Mom. I hung up, blocked the number, stood there in my kitchen, phone in hand, waiting to feel something. Relief, sadness, anger. Mostly I just felt tired. That weekend I drove up to Flagstaff. Needed air, needed space, needed to clear my head. Hiked 8 miles through pine forests, camped overnight, watched stars from my sleeping bag. Thought about everything that had happened. The betrayal, the fight, the victory, wondered if it was worth it. Then I checked my bank account on my phone. Saw that no alimony payment had processed this month. For the first time in 2 years, my money was actually mine. Yeah, it was worth it. Monday morning, I was back at work. Team meeting at 9. We were bidding on a major commercial development project, biggest one our division had handled. If we landed it, it would be career-defining. My phone buzzed during the meeting. I glanced at it, another unknown number with a text preview. Unknown. Please, I'm begging you. We have nothing. The kids are asking why we had to move. I'll do anything. Just help us. I turned the phone face down and focused on the presentation. After the meeting, my boss pulled me aside. That was solid work on the bid analysis. I'm recommending you for the project lead if we get it. Thank you. You seem good. Focused. Whatever was going on in your personal life, looks like you've got it handled. Yeah. I said I do. I went back to my office, looked at the text message, read it once, then deleted it without responding, blocked that number, too. That evening, I went to dinner with a woman I'd been seeing casually for a few months. Jenna, a geology professor at ASU. Nothing serious yet, but comfortable. Easy. You seem different tonight, she said over dessert. Lighter. Yeah. Good. Different. Like you're actually here instead of somewhere else in your head. She was right. For the first time in years, I wasn't carrying that weight. Wasn't thinking about the injustice, the betrayal, the money flowing out of my account every month to fund someone else's life. It was over. Actually over. We went back to my place, sat on the back patio with wine, talking about a research project, my commercial bid. Nothing heavy or complicated. My phone buzzed. I glanced at it. Troy sending a meme. You can check that if you need to, Jenna said. Nah. I put the phone away. Nothing important. Some calls aren't worth answering. She smiled. Good policy. Later, after she'd left, I stood in my living room. My house, my space, built with money I'd earned, decorated the way I wanted, filled with peace instead of tension. The golden child had finally fallen. No safety net, no parents rushing to catch him. No family money to cushion the landing. And the disposable son, the one who'd learned early that he couldn't rely on anyone but himself, was standing exactly where he'd built himself to be. I should have felt triumphant, vindicated. Instead, I just felt free. My phone lit up one more time. Another unknown number. Another message. Unknown. This is Dominic. You win. You destroyed us. Hope you can sleep at night knowing what you did to your own family. I stared at it for a moment. Considered responding. Considered explaining that I hadn't destroyed anything, that they'd built their life on lies and fraud, and it had simply collapsed under its own weight. But honestly, he already knew that they all did. I deleted the message, blocked the number, went to bed, and for the first time in 3 years, I slept through the night without waking up once. 3 weeks after the verdict, I got a call from Patricia. Thought you'd want to know. The DA decided to move forward with the perjury charges against your parents. Not jail time given their age and lack of prior record, but substantial fines, $15,000 each plus court costs. I didn't say anything for a moment. You okay with that? She asked. I didn't ask for it, but they committed perjury. That's on them. Fair enough. Also, Celine's first repayment is due next week. $200 a month for the next several years. We'll see if she actually pays it. And if she doesn't, wage garnishment. We have options. After we hung up, I sat at my desk staring at nothing. $30,000 in fines for my parents on top of legal fees that had already forced them to sell their house. Dominic and Celine barely scraping by in that apartment now with another $200 a month going back to me. I'd wanted justice. This was justice. So why did it feel so empty? Work kept me busy. The commercial project bid came through. We won the contract. Biggest development project in our division's history. My boss officially named me project lead, which meant longer hours, but also meant I was building something that mattered, something real. Jenna and I kept seeing each other. Still casual, but getting less so. She never pushed about my family situation, never asked questions I wasn't ready to answer, just let me exist without the weight of explanation. One night, about a month after the verdict, we were at her place watching a documentary about volcanoes. Her pick, not mine, when my phone rang. Unknown number. I'd stopped blocking them all, figuring the harassment would eventually stop. Just let it ring, Jenna said. But something made me answer. Hello, heavy breathing. Then this is Celine. I sat up. Jenna paused the documentary, watched my face. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, Celine continued. Her voice sounded wrecked, but I need you to understand something. We're living in a 2-bedroom apartment with a 4-year-old and a newborn. Dominic is working 70 hours a week doing deliveries and we still can't make rent. Your parents lost their house because of the fines. My parents won't speak to me anymore. We have nothing. Okay, that's it, just okay. What do you want me to say, Celine? I want you to show some mercy. We made mistakes, but this punishment, it's destroying lives. Real lives. Your nephew asks me why we don't live in a house anymore. What am I supposed to tell him? Tell him the truth. That his parents built their life on fraud and it fell apart. You're unbelievable. You used to be kind. What happened to you? I laughed. Actually laughed. You happened to me. You and Dominic and my parents. You all happened to me. So, you're just going to let us suffer forever? You got your revenge. You won. Can't you just let it go? Forgive and forget? I stood up, walked to Jenna's kitchen. You planned this, Celine, from the beginning. You and my brother planned to let me believe I was going to be a father, then take me for everything I had. You laughed about it in text messages. And when I found out, you got my own parents to lie under oath to make sure you could keep bleeding me dry. I know, and I'm sorry. 2 years. 2 years I paid you alimony while you played house with Dominic while my family celebrated you and treated me like I was the problem. And now you want mercy for the kids? Please. They didn't do anything wrong. You're right. They didn't. And that's something you and Dominic should have thought about before you decided to commit fraud. I'm trying to do the right thing now. I'm making the payments. $200 a month on a $26,000 debt. At that rate, you'll be paying me for the next 10 years. Silence. Then quietly, I know. Good. Now, stop calling me. I hung up, turned around to find Jenna watching me from the couch. Sorry, I said. That was your ex? Yeah, the one who. She trailed off, not sure how much I'd told her. Yeah, that one. She patted the couch next to her. I sat down. She didn't ask questions, just restarted the documentary. But halfway through, she said, you know, it's okay to feel weird about this, right? About what? About winning? About them suffering? You can be right and still feel complicated about it. I thought about that. I don't feel bad for them. I didn't say you should, but you don't seem happy either. She was right. I wasn't happy. Wasn't sad. Just follow. The next day at work, I got an email from an address I didn't recognize. No subject line. Just I know you won't respond, but I need to say this. You were right about everything. Mom and Dad screwed up. I screwed up. We all did. But we're family. Doesn't that mean anything to you, Dominic? I stared at the email for 5 minutes. Thought about everything that word family had meant throughout my life. Protection for Dominic, excuses for Dominic, consequences for me. I hit delete. That weekend, I drove out to the property site for the commercial project. Walked the land with survey equipment, taking measurements, making notes. This was going to be my legacy. Not the family drama. Not the court case. My phone buzzed. Another unknown number. Another text. Unknown. Your father had a heart attack last night. He's stable but in the hospital. Thought you should know. Mom, I read it 3 times, waited for the guilt to hit. The panic, the urge to rush to the hospital. It didn't come. Instead, I just felt tired. So incredibly tired. I called Patricia. Can they use my dad's heart attack to claim hardship? Reduce the fines. They can try. Probably won't work. The fines are tied to criminal charges. Medical issues don't typically affect that. Okay. Are you going to see him? No. All right. Then we hung up. I went back to surveying the land. That night, lying in bed, I thought about my father in that hospital. Wondered if he was thinking about me. Wondered if he regretted taking the stand, swearing I was dangerous when he knew it wasn't true. Probably not. He'd made his choice a long time ago. Monday morning, another email from Dominic. Dad almost died. Does that mean anything to you? He's your father. He made mistakes, but he doesn't deserve to die alone in a hospital while his son ignores him. What kind of person are you? I started typing a response. Detailed everything they'd done. Point by point. The lies, the theft, the systematic destruction of my life while they celebrated. Then I deleted it all and just wrote, stop contacting me. Send it. Block the email address. Patricia called that afternoon. Celine's lawyer reached out. They want to negotiate the repayment terms. They're proposing a lump sum settlement $8,000 now instead of the full amount over time. They don't have $8,000. Her parents do. Apparently, they're willing to pay it to make this go away. I thought about it. $8,000 now versus $200 a month for years versus continuing to be tied to these people, continuing to get calls and emails and guilt trips. I'll take it, I said. You sure you owe a lot more than that? I know, but I want it over. Really over. The settlement was finalized within a week. Celine's parents paid the lump sum. In exchange, the debt was satisfied, and all parties agreed to no further contact. I deposited the check, stared at it in my account. $8,000. A fraction of what they'd taken from me, but it was something. More importantly, it was done. That Friday, I got a package at my office. No return address. Inside was a framed photo. My parents, Dominic, Celine, and the 2 kids at some family gathering. Everyone smiling. No note, just the photo. I threw it in the trash and went back to work. That weekend, Jenna and I hiked Camelback Mountain. Brutal climb, but the view from the top was worth it. We sat on the rocks eating sandwiches, looking out over Phoenix. Can I ask you something? She said, sure. Are you okay? Really? Okay. I thought about it. Yeah, I think I am. You don't seem okay. I'm better than I was. She took my hand. You know, you don't have to carry all this alone, right? Whatever happened with your family, you can talk about it. Maybe sometime, just not yet. She nodded. Didn't push. We hiked back down as the sun was setting. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I ignored it. Later that night, after Jenna had gone home, I finally checked it. Voicemail from a number I didn't recognize. This is your Aunt Denise's daughter calling on her behalf. She wanted you to know that your father passed away this morning. The funeral is Thursday at 2. She thought you'd want to know, even if you choose not to come. The message ended. I set the phone down. My father was dead. I waited for the tears, the grief, the regret. Nothing came. Just that same hollow feeling, that exhaustion. I thought about the funeral. Imagine walking into that room, seeing Dominic and my mother and the extended family who'd chosen sides. The judgment, the whispers. Imagine my mother's face if I showed up. If I didn't, I picked up my phone and called Patricia one more time. Just need to confirm I have no legal obligation to attend the funeral, right? No estate issues or anything that requires my presence. None. Your father's will likely leaves everything to your mother anyway. You don't need to be there. Okay. Thanks. Thursday came. I went to work like normal. Ran a team meeting. Reviewed survey data. Ate lunch at my desk. At 2, I checked my watch. The funeral would be starting. I kept working. My phone started buzzing around 3. Messages from extended family. From people I hadn't heard from in years. How dare you not show up? Your mother is devastated. What kind of son doesn't attend his own father's funeral? You should be ashamed. I read them all. Then I turned my phone off and finished my workday. That evening, I sat in my backyard with a beer, watched the sunset, thought about my father, not the man who'd lied under oath, but the man from my childhood, teaching me to tie my shoes, taking me fishing once, maybe twice. Moments that felt real before everything got complicated. He'd chosen Dominic again and again. He'd chosen Dominic, and now he was gone, and I'd chosen myself. My phone powered back on. One voicemail stood out from the rest. My mother. Her voice broken. He asked for you. At the end, he asked if you were coming. I had to tell him no. I had to tell him you didn't care enough to say goodbye. I hope you can live with that. I saved the message. Didn't know why. Just did. Then I finished my beer and went inside. The next morning, I woke up to an email from work. The commercial project was moving forward ahead of schedule. They wanted me at the site for a major stakeholder meeting next week. This was my life now. Projects. Progress. Building something real. I got dressed. Made coffee. Headed to the office. My phone rang as I was pulling into the parking lot. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Finally picked up. Hello. A long pause. Then it's Mom. I know you don't want to hear from me, but there's something you need to know about your father's will and about Dominic. It's important. Please just give me 5 minutes. I sat in my car. Engine still running. 5 minutes? I could give her that much. I'm listening. Your father left you something in the will. Not money. We don't have any. But a letter. He wrote it the week before he died. The lawyer has it. Okay, that's it. You're not going to. What else? Mom? You said this was about Dominic. Too. She was quiet for a moment. He's leaving. Celine and the kids. Moving back to Michigan with her parents. They can't make it here anymore. The apartment, the jobs, everything fell apart. They're leaving next month. Good for them. You don't care at all. They're your family. No, they're not. Not anymore. I put the car in park. Anything else? The lawyer's office is on Camelback Road. He'll have the letter whenever you want to pick it up. She paused. I'm not asking you to forgive us. I know that's not happening. I just thought you should know. Okay. Thanks for calling. Wait. Her voice cracked. Are you happy with how things turned out? Was it worth it? I thought about the question. Really thought about it. Yeah, I said. It was. I hung up before she could respond. The lawyer's office was 10 minutes from work. I stopped by that afternoon during lunch. A paralegal handed me a sealed envelope with my name on it in my father's handwriting. I didn't open it, just took it home and set it on my kitchen counter. It sat there for 3 days. Finally, on Saturday morning, I opened it. Son, I don't know if you'll ever read this. Your mother says you won't come to the funeral. I understand why. I failed you. I see that now. When you needed me to believe you, I didn't. When you needed me to stand with you, I chose your brother instead. I told myself I was protecting family, but really, I was just doing what I'd always done, protecting Dominic from consequences while expecting you to handle everything on your own. You were always the stronger one. Even as a kid, you didn't need us the way he did. That's what I told myself. But needing someone and deserving their support aren't the same thing. You deserved better from us, from me. I won't ask for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know that I'm proud of what you built. Your career, your life, the man you became. You did that without us. Maybe because of us in some backward way, but it's yours. I'm sorry I never told you that when it mattered. Dad, I read it twice. Set it down. Stared out the window at nothing. He was right. He didn't deserve forgiveness. But at least he'd finally seen it. At the end, he'd finally seen what he'd done. It didn't change anything. Didn't erase the courtroom lies or the years of favoritism or the choice he'd made to protect Dominic at my expense, but it was something. I folded the letter, put it in a drawer. Maybe I'd read it again someday. Maybe I wouldn't. Work consumed the next few weeks. The commercial project moved into the development phase. I was putting in 60-hour weeks, managing a team of 15, coordinating with contractors and city planners. It was exhausting and exhilarating and exactly what I needed. Jenna and I went on a weekend trip to Sedona, hiked Red Rocks, ate at a restaurant overlooking the canyon, talked about everything except my family. She told me about her research, her ex-husband, her plans for the future. I listened, actually listened instead of being trapped in my own head. You seem different, she said over dinner Saturday night. Lighter. You've said that before. I mean it more now. You're actually present. It's nice. She was right. The weight was gone. The anger, the constant mental calculation of what I'd lost, the bitterness, all of it had finally lifted. I'd won, not just legally. I'd won my life back. One Tuesday afternoon, I got an email from an address I didn't recognize. Subject line, "Goodbye. This is Dominic. We're moving to Michigan tomorrow. I won't bother you again. I don't expect you to care, but I wanted you to know you were right about everything. We screwed you over and we deserved what happened. I spent my whole life having people clean up my messes. And when it finally caught up to me, I had nothing. You built something real, I never did. I always thought being the favorite meant I was better. But really, it just meant I never had to become anything. I know you won't respond to this. I'm not asking you to. Just wanted to say it. I hope you have a good life. You earned it." I read it once, then archived it without responding. The next week, the commercial project officially broke ground. Big ceremony, local press, city officials. My boss gave a speech crediting the team, specifically calling out my leadership. People clapped. Photos were taken. I stood there in my hard hat and safety vest, watching the excavator start to move earth, and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Pride. Not in winning against my family, just in building something that mattered. That evening, Jenna and I were at my place making dinner when she said, "I've been meaning to ask, are we doing this? Like, actually doing this." "Doing what? This us? Because I'm all in if you are, but I need to know where your head is." I looked at her. This woman who'd been patient while I worked through everything, who'd never demanded explanations or pushed for information I wasn't ready to give, who just let me be myself, damaged parts and all. "Yeah," I said, "I'm all in." She smiled. "Good. Because I already told my department head I'm not taking that sabbatical in Germany. I'm staying here. You're turning down a research opportunity for us and because I like Phoenix and because you make really good tacos." I kissed her. She laughed. We finished making dinner. My phone buzzed on the counter. Unknown number. I glanced at it, saw the preview. "Please, I turned the phone face down and went back to chopping vegetables." "Not important?" Jenna asked. "Nothing is anymore, not like that." 3 months later, I got a promotion. Director of Regional Survey Operations. Corner office. Substantial raise. Team of 40. The commercial project was ahead of schedule and under budget. My boss was talking about me taking over the division within 2 years. I bought a bigger house in North Scottsdale. 4 bedrooms, pool, view of the mountains. Jenna moved in 2 months after that. Life was good. Actually, good. I never heard from my family again. Mom stopped calling. Dominic was gone. The extended family drama faded into background noise I didn't bother listening to. One Saturday morning, 6 months after the verdict, I was at the office working on a bid proposal. My phone rang. "Troy, hey man, wanna grab lunch? There's a new barbecue place near you." "Yeah, let me finish this section. Meet you there in an hour." "Perfect." I hung up, looked around my office, project plans on the walls, awards on the shelves, photos of successful developments I'd led. This was the life I'd built, not despite my family abandoning me, not even because of it, just mine. Built from nothing, on my own terms, with my own hands. The golden child was broke and gone. My parents were living in a rental, dealing with the consequences of their choices. And the disposable son. He was thriving. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I looked at it for a moment, then declined the call without checking who it was. Some calls just aren't worth answering. I saved my work, grabbed my jacket, and headed out to meet Troy. The sun was bright, the air was clear, and for the first time in as long as I could remember, I wasn't carrying anyone's weight but my own. I walked to my truck, got in, and drove away. And I never looked back. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you really like our videos, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.